Thank you for sending it to me. God is love, and whoever remains in love remains in God, and God in him. First letter, John, chapter 4, verse 16. And that is the truth, isn't it? When you remain in love, when you remain in it, and you allow yourself to love, because you need to, because you feel it. I mean, if you don't, that's a different matter, right? But when you feel it and you allow it, then there's a connection with the divine. When you stop that flow, you stop you. So it's a hard one to think and it's a hard one to do. So you have to get to know yourself really well. And that's all the yogic practices. We have to get to know ourselves really well, and then the unconditional love will come naturally. So I think Lakshmi is going to make an announcement.
Just one thing. First, I'd like to thank Nalanie for
another place of being. And this is why all the greatest masters says, don't dwell in your problems so much. Don't worry so much about life, you know. There's so much more life has to offer if we don't focus just on ourselves. I know it's hard not to focus on yourself, you know. And this is where, you know, today's talk is confidence and humility. The balance on the spiritual path, you know. We need to have confidence to live the way we believe. And we have to have the humility along with that to know when we are making the wrong moves, or we need to bow our heads to say, I'm sorry, I need to learn more, I need to grow. We need both. And when we are right, we need to have the courage. And confidence gives us that courage, you know, to fight for that which is right. And by fighting, I'm talking about fighting with love. And in order to fight in love and not in anger, you must have complete confidence that you are really coming from a place of love. You are really coming from a place of love. If you are coming from a place of blame, it shows you already that you haven't understood who you really are. Because who are we really, right? Love. We can make mistakes over and over and over and over again. But if we really say sorry with love, and we really mean it with love, it takes great confidence to say after you've made like 25 mistakes, I'm really sorry, you know. And that's not even humility, it's a mixture. Because you need that confidence to believe in yourself, and not what people say, and not what people think, but what that you have permission to follow your heart. Sometimes our karma is not so clear. You know, things are not so clear. It's not that easy to cut or to make or to break or to fix. It's not so easy. Sometimes it's so difficult. So we fall. And it's really, you need to have the confidence and the humility to say, I failed. But you know what? I learned from it. I learned from it. I learned from it. And this is what makes you confident with humility. Many times, the problem starts because of our ego. This big ego that doesn't want to admit that we are ever wrong. And you think that that's a sign of strength, but it isn't. I'd like to read something to you, a quote from Einstein, which I quite like. Today I'm collecting quotes. Oh, before I do that, let me read this one to you. This is really important. View your life with kind sight. Kind sight. In big. Kind sight. Stop beating yourself up about things from your past. Instead of slapping your forehead and asking, what was I thinking? Breathe and ask yourself, what was I learning? The weak have to learn be strong. The strong have to learn to be weak sometimes. So, stop beating yourself up. We all make mistakes. And you know, when we don't have the confidence in ourselves, we allow other people to take over our minds and decide for us. Nobody can decide anything for us because you have to live in your body and you have to feel the things you feel. And when you're full in love in your heart, you cannot bring out hate. You have to bring that love out no matter what. And even if you're a fool, be God's fool. But you have to live true to yourself. All of us have to live true to ourselves. If we don't, we will never find peace on earth. Ultimately, at the end of the day, and when we go to bed at night, we have to live with a heart full of joy, a desire to get up tomorrow in the morning and see a brand new day, when there's not a falling in love with life. You know, and Bhavani said that to me last week. It made me so happy. She walked into my house and she said, "Nalanie, I'm in love." I said, "Oh, have you met somebody I love?" I just like, "No, I'm in love with life. I feel so in love. I feel so in love." And that was such a good feeling, such a joyous feeling, and we should all be feeling that. And I go, "Oh, yoga's working, you know." She's not thinking I only need a man to make me happy, but I'm in love with life for the sake of life. I'm excited to get up the next day. So that was a great, great, great thing to hear. Now let's go back to Einstein. Great spirits, people with very strong and great spirits, have always found violent opposition from the mediocrities. Did I say that right, Betty? Mediocrities. The latter cannot understand it when a man does not thoughtlessly submit to hereditary prejudices, but honestly and courageously uses his intelligence. In other words, when you use your intelligence, and it's not the norm for other people, and it's different because you're doing everything your own way, really, and people tell you this is hereditary prejudices, the way it should be. And when you follow that, you will find that you will always have violent opposition from people who cannot think the same way you do. You will. Look at all the great masters. They all had violent opposition. How can you do it differently? This is the way it should be done. This is the only way, you know? And so, in order to follow your truth, the truth that is goodness and kindness and love, you will always hear words like, "Oh, what rubbish. Everybody will step on your toes. People will use you. They'll manipulate you." True. Absolutely true. But you have to have the confidence, as Lord Jesus did, as Swami Satchidananda did, as Mother Teresa did. The confidence to believe in what you do. While you're climbing that spiritual ladder to be who you were born to be, this one beautiful soul, glorifying in everybody's happiness, you will have so much opposition from family, from friends, from your partner, from your children. And you just got to have the confidence to love them unconditionally while they're questioning you. But if you have the confidence and become that example of love, they will see in no time at all that what you are teaching and what you are learning, when they look at you and they see your peace, they will want that from you. They have no choice but to grow with you. One thing is telling your partner, "Oh, you should follow my path because it gives me happiness. And we should be spiritual together." What are you saying? You're not spiritual. I am, right? I got the right way, you got the wrong way. That's not confidence. You need humility right there. Humility to accept that your partner, male, female, may be so different from you. But there is something you found that has made you a better human being. And if you were a better human being, would you be doing this? It's all your fault, it's all your fault, it's all your fault. You would not. You would not do that. Even though it's not your fault, even though it's not your fault and somebody else's fault, you will be gracious enough to say, I have to take responsibility for something. Maybe I was too much of a coward, and maybe I was too much of a dictator, you know? Maybe I should have been a little bit more humble. And when you do that, it means you have a lot of confidence. With humility. It takes both for a person to say that. And the other person will melt. Why? Because we understand that language. Somebody trying to come in?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. So, do you understand that it's so important, that combination, which we see in all the great masters. I remember, at one time when my master was moving around, he had 2 disciples traveling with him. One was like a lion roaring all the time, and the other was so meek and always being squashed by the stronger one. So I went to my master and I go, Gurudev, they're both with you, and yet they're so different, and they're always at loggerheads with each other. And he goes, yeah, you got it. So what would you do? I said, I will talk to the one that is so strong and tell her that she has to be meek. And the one that is so meek that she has to be strong. And he said, and in your life, you need to apply that too. He said, sometimes you need to roar like a lion. You should know when. And sometimes you have to be as meek as a dove. And you need to know when. I tell you, that lesson was such a great one. Because I could see in those two, me. The 2 sides of me, And I know the next lesson, because it's always like you're always growing in spirituality, which is so much fun. There's so many things that you discover the spirit is when you're willing to be humble and learn and learn. And you learn, oh my God, I still have this to learn, thank God, Because life is fun when you have to learn. Life is no fun if you think you know it all, is it? There's nothing to learn. And the greatest learnings really, again and again. I remember when my master said to me, when I started reading, doing this, doing that, one thing after another, studying one thing after another, and he told me, stop. Because I called him out. And I said, Gurudev, I'm reading this book, and this book explains chakras this way, and this one talks about moksha this way, and this one talks about liberation and freedom this way. They're all saying it's different ways. And he said, stop reading, Nalanie. You have enough information. And I said, oh, I was like loud reading. And he said, stop reading for 6 months and study reading life. So of course, when you stop reading what this one thinks, and that one thinks, and that one thinks, and this one thinks, so every time you read a new book, wow, it's the best one I've read now. The next one's the best one, and the best one. And each time you are changing your place of steadiness, you keep giving away. This is why I say, if you want to read the life of great masters, because they all say the same. Love, truth, knowledge, bliss, self-sacrifice, in the sense of sacrifice is not a bad word. It's not a bad word. A mother sacrifices easily, and a father these days too, easily, nights of sleep to see their child well. Is that bad? Is that wrong to do that? It's wonderful. Do you do it and complain? Nowadays people do, but my mother had asthma all the time. She had to stay up all night. She never once told me off. She sat up with me all night. She was my best guru, the best example. All night long. I don't know how many times when I was young, And with so much dedication and so much love, I learned so much from my illness. I'm so grateful to my mother. Talking about mothers again. But, this is how we need to grow. All of us. And reading the great masters, there is a purity. I know I'm an old-fashioned girl, but there is a purity about them. There's a purity, God is love. Okay, how do you build this love? By doing good acts. And when you do good acts, you are going to face much opposition. Even Einstein knew that. And that opposition is your burning, what we call tapas. You burn, you suffer. Because what is tapa? Accepting pain. Life gives us pain. And not causing it in return. Not hitting back. It really does not make you weak. It makes you strong. When you hit back, it becomes a battle. Two people become weak. When you walk away, there is no more battle. You make yourself strong. And that is what confidence and humility is all about. So when my master said, study life. You study the sound? Study everything that's going around. You're left to study. If you're in an airport for 5 or 6 hours, all you got to do is observe people. I'm very grateful. In the early days, I traveled alone a lot. And I just sat in airports, delayed flights, 24 hours sometimes. And I really, really loved my time. I loved it. Because I had nothing to do, because I wasn't to read anymore, right? I couldn't read, I promised. I made a promise to my master I would not read for 6 months, so I did not read for 6 months. And so all I had to do was watch. And look at how people were reacting to each other. Then all I had to do, when you're waiting on buses or trains or whatever, is to look out into the countryside and look into those little huts and think, oh my God, I wonder what triggers these people off. Are they the same as me? Are they different? Going to all these different countries. And then I found out again and again, in each country, we were all the same. Everywhere, the thing that made people whole was exactly the letter we got from Silta. I feel loved. I feel loved. And I have so much love to give. Take my love too. That people needed to feel special in their love. Not just another human being, just not another person, but everybody needed to feel special in that love, because deep inside all of us were the same. The Bhagavad Gita says, just like there are different pearls, all different pearls strung on one string, together you make a pearl necklace. We are all souls with the same vein that runs through us. We all, different nationalities, doesn't matter. We all have blood. Different religions, we all have blood in our body. We all have a heart. heart. We all have intestines. We're all basically the same machine, but different coverings to make our lives interesting and beautiful and exciting and cultured and full of laughter. You know? It's okay, it's okay. Can I help you? Yeah. I think the children are having fun. We're having fun. If they make much noise, I would have to ask you to look after them. Not because of anything, it's not fair to everybody else who comes. Yeah, thank you. You know, not for any other reason, but just it's not fair for people who come to be disturbed. Thank you, I appreciate that. So, where was I? The necklace. Thank you for remembering. So it's like that. We're all different pearls, and without any single pearl, the necklace doesn't work. So this is why. But when we know that, we all talk about it, we say we're one. We're all one. We all know. I really know everybody knows that. When I sit in this room, I just know that you all know that. I don't know how I know, but I know you know that speech of love. I know that tears well up when I read Silta's letter to you. I know that there's a joy in your heart when Lakshmi is telling you about what we want to do here with your money. I can feel that love. You can feel that love. And you all know it. But yet, many of us don't have the confidence to share it out when we're in that world. We don't have the confidence to be that love. We don't have the confidence to just be ourselves and say, you know what, you don't have to love me for who I am. You don't, but I love you anyway. It doesn't really matter. This is why the world loved Gandhi. Why did the world love Gandhi? They got beaten and he still loved them. And you think, oh my God, there is something so superhuman in that. The world loved Jesus. Why? Because they crucified him and he still forgave them. Why do we have this lump in our throat and our chest when we hear those words? Because it resonates with us. Because we recognize it. And why do we recognize it? Because that's who we are. And that's why when you cut off the flow from love in your life, you cut up your creativity. You cannot create without loving. Didn't you know that? Gurudev said, he and art makes heart. And what did I start off by saying from St. John, for those who weren't here? God is love, and whoever remains in love remains in God, and God in him. St. John. Upanishads, the Lord of love, no larger than a thumb, lives in the hearts of all. You know, what are they saying? And yet we don't have the confidence to be that love, that generous person we are. We're so fearful of what the world will say. I ask you honestly, when you're on your deathbed and when you are sick, who's by your side? I looked at my husband. We had great friends visited him. Wonderful. But at the end of the day, who's by your side? It was me and his children. Is it not? And we sacrifice them, husbands and wives, sacrifice them to please the world. Why don't just live holy for all the world? Don't separate. Don't separate. We separate. And then we're telling our families, don't separate. We're all one, but you're not one because you're not important enough. Because you know why? You know me 24 hours. You take my nonsense. So I'll go out and have fun in the world and love the world and treat you like a piece of dirt. Doesn't make sense to me. Does it make sense to you? So you have to build up this confidence with humility in order to live in this love. And to build up confidence, you must have such faith in you, the real you, the light in you. You know, do you know who you are? You know? All the scriptures tell us we are the Lord of love. All the scriptures tell us that we should be, connect with this divine source, because it is a divine source. And we can only connect when we're not in fear, guilt, worry. Read chapter 12 of the Bhagavad Gita. It will tell you anybody in those feelings cannot feel the connection with the divine. You have to be confident enough every time you make a mistake to say, I made a mistake. I made a mistake. I have no control. Guess what? I made a mistake and I'm making it again. I have no control. Love rules me. God rules me. Sometimes I really think, we're like little puppets. But if we can flow in the divine act, we'll be very peaceful and easeful. But when we want to control life and own it, it shows a lack of confidence, because we don't have the confidence, we don't have the belief, we don't have the faith that we are totally looked after. And that is where people fall. And this is where we fall. And that's where I fell in the early days. And I realized from stopping to read what everybody thought, what made me tick. I started to observe myself, because my master always said, if you learn the microcosm, you learn the macrocosm. And he made it very clear to me by saying 2 sentences. Nalanie, it's not about what you want or what you don't want. It is about what is. I learned that when I was in I want this, I want this, I want this, I want this, I was unhappy. I learned that when I said, I really don't want this, I really don't want this, I don't want this, I was not home. So everything I didn't want, I got. And everything I wanted, I didn't get. Which was the greatest blessing. And now, for years, I stopped asking. And I'm the richest person I know. I have everything I want and everything I need. But first, I had to go through those tests. And most spiritual people that I know go through those tests. Everything you want will not get. Really, that desire that is so great that it takes over your mind, you won't get till you let it go. And everything you don't want, you will get. Till you let that go too. And you say finally, with confidence in your heart, you know what? All thy will, just keep me pure. Just keep me pure. And that prayer changes. Dear Lord, bless me every single morning, every single day, that every thought that comes through my head should be a blessing to this earth. That every breath that I breathe should bring joy to this world. I can't control the world. I don't know what today will bring. I don't know what sorrows, pains, joys it's going to bring. But one thing I know is I can ask you to help me to be pure. And I know you'll look after the day for me if I do that. And I really know when I say that my day is looked after. It really is. And the only thing is the connection. But so many of us are so bogged down with fears and worries. Sri Patanjali tells us the obstacles that we have: disease, dullness, doubt, what else?
Falling from ground.
That's the last 2. Carelessness, laziness. What else does he tell?
False perception.
False perceptions, falling from ground gain, sensuality, and
falling from ground gain.
Thank you, good girl. She's good, huh? She's getting good. Didn't I tell you she was getting good? So, and these are obstacles. So we get so involved in these obstacles, and he tells us, look out, these are your obstacles: disease, dullness, doubt, carelessness, laziness. Watch for them, watch for them. I want. These things, throw you in the pit. Watch out for them. And don't worry, you will fall if you have those things. You will fall. No problem. But watch, these are the signs when you do fall. What does it say? Accompaniments to these are, do you remember? Trembling of the body, breathing. These are your signs. So panic attacks, modern translation, I'll say panic attacks, number one. The moment you get panic attacks, know that something is wrong. No, oh my God, something in your psyche is not working. You're not in a place of love. You're in a place of fear, guilt, and worry. Forget about fixing the world. This is what I learned. I had to fix me. Before was somebody said this to me, I think last week, when I used to go to talks in the early days with Swami Satchidananda. He was always my master and will always be the master for me. And I used to go the first early talks, I think, for the first 2-3 years, In my mind I would say, oh, I wish my husband was here to listen to the talk. It was only a few years later I realized it wasn't meant for my husband, it was meant for me. And everything I thought he should listen to was what I really needed to listen to, and by the grace of God, I was so blessed to have that opportunity. I wish he had my opportunities. But I was so blessed to have those opportunities to look internally and not externally anymore. Because whatever happens in the external world is only temporary. It's only temporary. But what happens in your internal world is for this life and forever. And I always say, when you are sad and you're alone in your bed and you suffer from something, people can say they're sorry and people can say, send you love, and it gives you great hope. But when you are in pain, nobody, even your partner, cannot take that pain away. You alone have to suffer it. Nobody can take that from you. So if you can start to see and understand that suffering, and you realize by understanding yourself that everybody goes through the same suffering as you. So you better quickly get over it, get over yourself, so you can tell people there's a way out. Because we've forgotten in this generation. We really have forgotten. This world is we're so bombarded. I think it's so unfortunate that we're so bombarded about the things we have and the things we need and how we should look and how we should feel and how we should think. At least in the olden days, if you're in your own home, that was your atmosphere. But here, whether you want it or not, turn on the news, speak to a person on the street, we're bombarded. It's almost like when we find ourselves, we lose ourselves. Find ourselves, lose ourselves. And we become so fickle that we get fed up with ourselves. So you have to get the confidence in yourself, first of all, to know, as my master told me, I am a child of the universe. I am a child of God. I am loved so much and so fully. I am so loved, and I trust that whatever happens to me is for the best. The plan is perfect. You gotta trust it. Without that trust and without that faith, you can meditate, you can study, you can read books, you can do anything you want to. You will not find your peace. You have to just know it beyond words. Beyond words. You just know. And the only way you know, and it's irrelevant, your interpretation of God, irrelevant. For me, the interpretation is so clearly unconditional love, so clearly. Like I said, by observing myself, I realized when I was most neutral is when I didn't take sides. And when I didn't take sides, when I was most neutral, I was most peaceful. It's most peaceful. Doesn't mean you don't see things as they are. You see everything even more clearly. And in the all spiritual books say, stay in good company. Because in good company, your mind elevates. And in bad company, your mind is dragged down. Whether you like it or not, it takes over. The force of the universe is too strong. So the next step will be having the confidence to choose your company. But I tell you, you don't even have to do that, because when I first started on this path, and I had the confidence to start, I lost nearly all of my friends at that time. I was too much a goody-goody to be around. Why? Because when they were flirting with other people's partners, I don't want any part of this. Are you judging us? No, it's just not what I want. They couldn't handle it. It's not what I want. I am so clear. Oh, you're too goody-goody, you're judging us. You can think I'm judging you. I had the confidence to say, I cannot live like that. It doesn't make me happy. And then when their families fell apart, they were never happy. I was searching. And today I just read this. I was in a play when I was in university. Any of you read Aesop's Fables?
Yes.
They're wonderful, aren't they? And when I was in university, I just read this image flash through my mind. I did a lot of drama because my degree was to be in, well, I made my own degree up at that time. Again, the gods allowed me to go into a university in the States where I could ask to be an art therapist. So I had to study all the forms of art. So anyway, I was in this drama, and I was chosen to be the fisherman's wife. And so one day, the fisherman, oh, you like that story too? Went to catch fish to bring home to his wife, and he picked up this fish and it started talking. And he goes, ah, fish talking. He said, I'm the magic prince. Please don't kill me, don't eat me. And the fisherman so nicely put it back in the water. And he went home. He was like shocked by that, and he went home to his wife. And he said, darling, I didn't bring you any fish today because I picked up this fish and he was magic prince. A magical prince, she said. Why don't you go back and tell him I want something? Oh, darling, you've got to tell him if you saved his life, a magic prince will grant you your wish. Why don't you ask him to give us a nice cottage, and then I'll be happy. He said, you'll be happy? Yes. So he goes back to the magic prince, he picks up the fish again, he goes, what do you want? The fish says, my wife really would like a nice cottage, and then she said, we'll be happy. Go home, granted. So he goes home, and his wife is happy, he's happy. He said, we're happy now, wife, we're happy. And she's thinking. Oh, the cottage, we could do with so much more. We could do with so much more. And then she goes, oh, darling husband, can you go back to the fish tomorrow and ask him for, I'd like a bigger house, a nice big house for us. Wife, we're happy. We don't need a big house. We're happy. We're always happy. We don't need a bigger house. Husband, so he goes, and he goes back to the fish. Thank you. And the prince goes, the magic fish goes, go home, you'll have a bigger house. Now she's really disturbed. She sees this bigger house, and she thinks, oh my God, I could do with this, and da-da-da-da-da. Because I want. If we had a castle, and I should be a queen in the castle, I would be so happy. And then he goes, wife, this is too much for us. Why do you want a castle? Husband, don't you want me to be happy? But go. Fish again, he says, go back. And that whole week she was like all the time agitated, couldn't sleep, couldn't get up, and what if I had this? And what? She goes, husband, the last thing, really the last thing. Why don't you go back and ask the fish that if I was emperor of the world, I'd be the happiest. And that would be the last thing. He said, please, what are you doing? He goes back to the prince, the magic prince, and he says, the last thing. And the fish looks at him and says, go back home. And when he goes back home, it's the first little hut they had. And the wife is sitting there. He said, wife, are you happy? And she sighed and she said, our home is small, but I'm happy. Did you get it? She finally got quiet. Quiet. No more wanting. Do you see? And so that's Aesop's Fables. And if you read Aesop's Fables, there's many, many, many beautiful stories, you know? And so what was I talking about before we got into Aesop's Fables? Talking about
Tangerines, dumbness.
Obstacles. Yeah, so this is how I was showing you how obstacles can cloud our lives. How obstacles can disturb our lives. The obstacle of desire. And I realized, as you all probably need to observe, some of you and some of you already realized, that when you have this great desire, whatever it is, you cannot have space for anything else that you allow happen in your life. It actually blocks the flow of divine energy. Because you focus on that one thing, thinking it's going to make you happy. And 1,000 things come your way. But because you don't have the eyes to see it, you're only focused on that, you miss out all those golden opportunities to serve, love, give, you know? All those golden opportunities that would take you out of the mire, the mud, I call, of having a desirous mind that murders you, strangles you. And who put the noose around you? You did. And then we go, dear God, why do you do this to me? I'm such a good person. It's not about being good or not good. It's nothing to do with that. It's just being real. It's just the way it is. It's being realistic. It's just being totally realistic. Spirituality is being totally truthful and realistic. And as Gurudev said, learn to hear with your heart. Your heart is your guide, is your source of intuition. And it's the hardest thing to listen to your heart, because everybody in the world will tell you to use this, be intelligent, don't you know this, and don't you know that. The whole world will tell you, but your heart will not let you rest till you follow it. How interesting, isn't it? It's a really interesting study I've done of that. The heart will not let you rest. If you are going to be anybody's fool, be God's fool. You need the confidence to know that, and the humility to step under and bow at the feet of the light. If you're going to be anybody's fool, why be man's fool? Be God's fool. That's what Gandhi did. That's what Mother Teresa did. That's what Swami Satchidananda did. That's what Jesus did. That's what Buddha did. Everybody thought, how can you do this? Gurudev introduced the first ecumenical service in the world, having a beautiful, getting all the different religions together as one. Takes great courage. His secretary told me once, his first talk in New York, when he was in New York, and he's never told me that himself. She said, there was somebody there hysterical, calling him blasphemous, you are evil, you are this. And for thousands, I think it was in Carnegie Hall, he was asked to speak. You know, and he had the courage to just stand there in great confidence. We live in better times than Lord Jesus, because he wasn't crucified, but he was acclaimed. Shows that our time is growing. He got the Peace Prize. He got many, many, many accolades. I can't count them. He never showed them, but his secretary sent me all his accolades that he got. He never talked about them, but he got so many. You just wouldn't believe, from so many heads of states and governments for his work on world peace. Great confidence. And yet, when he ever spoke, he said, I'm just the flute. All I have to do is hollow myself so God can use me. And I love that. And every time I see somebody with a flute on Main Street asking, I have to give money. Because it reminds me that when I can be pure, that the music can play through me. But when I'm clogged with all this nonsense, God cannot use me. I become unusable. I become maybe used to the world in one way, but unusable to be totally full of love. Because the only energy that can go through you when you're pure is that love energy. So that's the energy you will give out when you are like that. But when you're not, you give out other energies that disturb the world. I really believe we are not here to disturb the world. It's already disturbed enough. I really believe we're here to bring love and light to the world. You know, and we have to know ourselves quickly. We have to learn about who we are quickly. Fix that is, don't say, oh, I'm so bad, this is a lot of nonsense. Fix it. If you don't like something, fix it. There's a solution to every problem, and there's where you need to have the confidence. And if you don't have an answer, you need to have the confidence that by patience and working on yourself, you will get the answer, sooner or later. Because as you think, so it will happen. If you don't have the faith and the belief that you will get the answer, you will never get the answer. The only ingredient you need is patience. Patience. With patience, everything will be given to you. Every desire. And don't ask me how much time. Because that means you don't have total faith. How long will it take? I bought a plaque from Avila that says, God, give me patience, but give it to me urgently. Because that's what everybody says. And unfortunately, patience and urgency doesn't work together, And if you pray for patience, and with humility, you watch. And I think this would be a really, really, really nice practice if you have the courage. Like what my master told me, stop reading for 6 months. And after that, you can read again. And start studying life. Start studying what makes your heart sing. What makes you feel in love every single morning. Start to learn what that does. Start to listen to that. And start to see what your values are. Doesn't matter what anybody says. Because we all start from the same place, all of us. And if we go down to the root core of who we all are, this is unconditional love in different personalities. And look at your gifts. Who are you? What gifts you've been given? Don't deny them. So I have to renounce all my gift, give up everything. What's the point of being here with your personality then? Why not clone us all? You're given those gifts because that's where your magic is. Where's her magic? I mean, it's so obvious, right? In music and singing, it's so obvious. You don't use that gift, you don't find total peace. So sorry, people. You have to use your gift and share it with the world in order for the gift to be complete. If you have a gift and keep it to yourself, and you're dying, what then? What have you done with your gift? Do you remember the story in the Bible? Who knows it? About the talents, right? Isn't it Lord Jesus? A master. Lord Jesus tells this story, and then I'll finish with this story. Lord Jesus tells this story. And if I'm wrong, will you correct me? He has 3 servants. Right? Is it 3?
And the master.
And the master tells the servants, I'm going to go away for a year. And I'm going to give you all these talents. Each one the same. I'll come back in a year. And you let me know what you've done with it. So the first servant thinks, wow, the master's given me this talent. I must preserve it, keep it, not use it, keep it safe with me so when he comes back I can return it to him. So he buries the talent, doesn't share it. The second one, what does the second one do?
I'm not sure what he does, but he does something with the talents. The other two
then
do.
I know better than you.
Yeah?
I'm going wrong, check the Bible, it's similar. The second one takes it out and doubles it.
That's
He doubles it and then takes it back. The third one goes out and multiplies his talents, multiplies it.
No, I think he lost the glory.
No,
No.
not that one, no. It's the
No,
other
no.
way around. No, he multiplies it. Because I remember when I read this story, it was different from what I expected in my mind. Right? He multiplies it. So the master comes back and he said, okay, what have you done? Oh, master, I didn't risk your money, I didn't risk the talents. You gave me one, I give you one. The second one said, master, you gave me one, and I'm giving you back two. And the third one says, master, I multiplied it. And he takes the one of the third one and he praises the third one, for he multiplied the talents. Many of us have great gifts, great gifts, and we're so bogged down with our problems that we forget about these talents that we are given, and we keep them to ourselves. Never come to anything anyway. I'll never make anything out of it anyway. Better to be safe than sorry. Circles. Some give a little, give a little, share a little, maybe to my best friends only. Maybe only to the people I'm close to. I'm safe. I don't have to go beyond my safety zone. And the third one will risk everything to share everything. Which one are you? Which one are you? Of course, when you share everything means you take a lot of risks. You know that. Take a lot of risks. And that is where you need the confidence in your life to take risks. And the humility. When you're humble, you can always learn. And life becomes an adventure. When you tell the Lord of Life, good morning, Lord of Life. What adventure are you going to give me today? What adventure are you going to give me today? I have conversations with God all the time. What adventure are you going to give me today? And everything becomes, I'm just so excited. What is going to happen? And every day there is something different. And every day there is something new. And every day there is something. Good or bad, but it's something. Some days it's not so good. But still something. It's still an adventure. It's still a newness, a crispness to life that makes you want to live. That, we are here, earthbound for the time. We don't know when our time is up. We're earthbound. So in the spiritual bodies, we will give it our spiritual essence, not bodies, are put into these bodies so that we can experience some form of creativity, generosity, love, this openness, experience. Like my granddaughter said to my daughter, Mom, I don't want to die, because when I die, I can't taste delicious food and I can't hug you. She said that when she was 4. And I think we've been given an earthy, and I learned so much from that statement. I learned so much from that statement. Because I realized in that child that I had forgotten something, that we were here. We keep saying spirituality is about being happy. And we keep denying ourselves that happiness. Why? It's so deep ingrained as human beings, right? I go, wow. So long as everything is done in moderation, so long as we practice the great truths, non-violence, truthfulness, non-greed, non-stealing, take what is not yours. And we observe these great rules, we can live a beautiful, happy life despite, in spite of whatever pain or joys. Extreme pleasures also give you pain. Did you know that? The fear of losing that gives you great pain. In spite of life itself, we were born to be happy. And I have seen so many people keep self-sabotaging that. Don't do that to yourself. Life is short, like I started off saying. You don't know when you're going to be called. None of us do. Whatever little time we have, because I think it is going to be very little, whatever it is, try and live your life in love with confidence. Be who you are with confidence. As long as you don't hurt anybody, if you're a bit eccentric, be a bit eccentric. Golden rule, if you like to wear crazy beautiful clothes, wear crazy beautiful clothes, you know. If you're a great musician, be as mad as you want in love. It doesn't really matter. It's wonderful to watch. And find that love and find that peace and find that he and art make heart. Find that while you're living. Become who you truly are without shame, but in love. Because I don't think we deserve any less than that. And I don't think God created us for anything less than that. And I know that when we are in that, we are in the flow of God. I do know that. I can tell you that 100% from my own learning. And you know it. You know it yourself. You all know it. Like I say, you will not be here in this room if you did not know what I know. Because like attracts like. It's just the way it is. And deep in our hearts, we just know that that's what makes us grow, this love. And sometimes we think we don't have it. You know, when a marriage becomes stale, when a relationship becomes dry, we think we've lost it. But many times it's not that. We've forgotten to be romantic. We've forgotten to be caring. We've forgotten to have fun. We've forgotten to tease. We've forgotten to laugh. We've taken life way too seriously. And we've done it. We got lazy. Too comfortable. Too secure. So what happens? Insecurity is taken away from you. Immediately. Took it for granted? Okay, now, you go. You go. You lost it. And that's when the pain hits. Because you've separated from your love. Anyway, on that note, be confident in yourself. Be as humble to life as you can. If you're wise, have one master. I always say, I only have one boss. And if I make any mistakes, I can only answer to that. Remember that. The world will love you today and maybe not love you when you do something wrong tomorrow. But your master will love you irrelevant of your wrong deeds or your good deeds. There's no judgment. Judgment comes here. Just remember that. And all the scriptures say that God is love. And have a lovely evening.